What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Keeping Up with the X-Men, where I try to keep up with the X-Men. It's been rough. I've been working like crazy. My job has me on 60 hours a week, so pretty much I am dedicated to being at work, coming home, sleeping, getting my kid, and then doing the so-and-so daily routine, which is like 3 or 4 hours, and then I go back to work. So it has been almost impossible to come in here and do anything, whether it be for this channel, Reploid Productions, the Fandom Night stuff. Just is what it is. Just to say, though, it came to my attention that I've been picking up a lot of books. Like, this stack is starting to grow, so I figured I have some free time. I need to come in here and we need to start getting some of this done. And today is part of the backlog stuff. This is True Believers. This is Phoenix Bizarre Adventure, which was just released not way too long ago. What this is, basically, this is from Bizarre Adventures, and this line of True Believers is special books that are released of like one-shots and first appearances and major story arcs, like the first part of these books. Books that are tough to get now for anything that's reasonable. And this is $1. It's, of course, a reprint. And then, like, there's things like this where this was released, which is Enter the Phoenix. And then they also have, like, an old Cyclops and Marvel Girl and just all kinds of stuff like that that's been released from this True Believers line. And it gives us a chance to kind of see where X-Men has gone. Now, this one is pretty simple. Basically, her sister, and I'm trying to remember. This is, I'm trying to remember if it's the older sister. It's Sarah. I know it's Sarah Gray, and I can't remember. I know they're sisters, and I can't remember which one was older, which one was younger. Basically, she goes to Jean Grey's grave, and she's contemplating a time from years ago that she has just remembered, something that's kind of been out of her memory for a very long time. She has kids, and there's a possibility that they could be mutants later on. And she's a little worried because Jean Grey's mutant, being a mutant, pretty much destroyed her. It made her life very difficult. It made challenges that she underwent, especially in society, very difficult because she deals with certain persecutions and whatnot from being a mutant. And then, as everything came to a head, she is under the belief that it was Jean's mutant powers in general that caused her demise on the moon. So this is, of course, happening after the Dark Phoenix saga. Now, the whole story goes on to the idea that one day Jean and her sister were out, they're having some fun, they go out on this boat, they're sailing, they get to talking about whether or not Sarah's kids might end up being mutants, and she's like, well, Jean is like, what would be wrong with that? And she's like, well, you see, their life would be difficult. And then Jean is like, they'll be freaks, you know, like me, because Jean picked up on that. And this is one of those things about Jean that would be difficult, while at the same time, like, I've talked about it before. A relationship with Jean, the idea that Scott is with Jean, that is complicated like you can't even believe, because there's no fake thoughts between the two. Her sister, for even a second, was like, my sister is, she's a freak. That entered her mind, and Jean felt that, and then she kind of shot that at her sister, and her sister was like, oh man, I just did that. Like, it was pretty mean, without meaning to be mean. It's nothing she would have ever said out loud. But the fact that she thought it and Jean is there, Jean does not always control the mind-reading thing. Sometimes this stuff is almost shouted from the subconscious, and Jean picks up on it. So basically the boat is gassed, and then they both wake up or rather, the boat is gassed, and then we go to a flashback where they talk about Annie, the little girl that actually that died because of the car accident. She got hit by a car that killed her, and during her death, Jean latched on, and her powers woke up, and she experienced death with Annie. And it was during that, because of retcons, it was at that point that she very first accidentally subconsciously reached out to the Phoenix. And that's why the Phoenix, all those years later, came here in Jean's moment of death and offered the offer that it made. Anyways, they wake up on the ocean floor, and they've been surgically altered, or magically altered, or they've been altered. I don't exactly understand 100% what was going on here, but now they're Atlanteans, I guess, is what... I don't have a lot of experience in terms of Namor and Atlantis and all that other stuff. I mean, when he appears in the X-Men, I pay attention for the most part, and then otherwise, I just kind of shake my head. But Jean goes and finds her sister, and then some guards come and get them, and then they find themselves face-to-face with Atuma, which that's like one of the bad guys that's like in Atlantis, and I can't remember exactly what's going on, but like in terms of him, in terms of the story, I followed along fine, but that guy, I don't care. He's not a guy I go out of my way to learn about, and when he comes up, he's just as easily dismissed for me, so Anyways, he's looking for, and this gets kind of nasty. Actually, he brings them in and he sets them down so that they're gonna have a dinner with pleasantries until he reveals what's going on here. He tells them that basically he's looking to have kids, strong kids, and he needs genetic people that will create strong kids. And he tells them, right now I'm offering you a chance to feel loved and feel important and be a part of a cause. And then he makes this really nasty reference. He says, I collect women, or rather, here he is, he says that they don't have to be for this or against it. If he so chooses, he could just make them livestock. He tells them almost word for word, literally, he says, I caution you against using any of your mental powers because there are dampeners all around us, and if you resist, I will destroy your brain, and you will still live. And then he says, you will be a mindless vegetable, but thought is not essential for you to bear children. So, holy crap, this is some dark stuff that we just got into. He very much told her, as far as I'm concerned, you're a breeding cow. So, and of course, she doesn't quite take well to this because at the current moment in time, she is the Phoenix, and those dampeners are not enough to actually stop her. She becomes the Phoenix and she starts attacking. Well, look, as the Phoenix, the way you defeat the Phoenix is you can't take out the Phoenix, but you can stop the host. It's still difficult to do, especially the longer Jean is the Phoenix and the more she gets used to having that kind of power and utilizing it, and she gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where nothing can stop her. Right now, he really doesn't have a chance here. But with all the psychic dampeners up, he had a slight chance because he was kind of working against Jean Grey. But then the power of the Phoenix comes out. She hits him. She destroys the dampeners. All these enemies come. She puts up shields. She knocks them out. Then she grabs her sister and she decides it's time for us to go. He attempts to hit her with a sword. She blocks the sword telepathically, then bends it and zaps him, throws him through a wall, and then fires a bolt up to bring the entire temple down. Because, well, look, he's a Tuma. there is no chance that he could beat the Phoenix. And comic books is one of those weird things where sometimes it might not make sense, and like characters will win fights they should have never been able to win. But he was pretty much a joke. Now they go up to the surface, and her sister Sarah tries to leave the ocean, but she can't breathe air. So they end up sitting on the ocean floor for a minute, and they're talking. And she says, you know, I could get used to this life, but I don't want to. I mean, there's a world down here to explore. There's beauty and mystery and amazement, but he's always going to be after me. And there's going to be no rest and nothing I can do, nowhere I can go to ever escape constant persecution and basically being hunted by this freak. So somehow you changed back to a person. What about me? And Jean basically tells her, I can do this, but there's a risk that it can kill you. I have the Phoenix powers, but I'm still a person. I'm not a god or a goddess. And quite frankly, it is. And this is going to be rough, but I will try. So she uses the power of the Phoenix, and she actually brings her sister back into... She basically deatomizes, pulls her apart molecule by molecule, then puts her back together as a human, reborn as a human. And then they go up onto the surface. They sit at the campfire, and they talk for a while, and Jean erases this memory from Sarah. Kind of like, look, I'd rather you don't remember this, because someday your kids, there's a chance they're going to be mutants, and I'd rather this not taint your vision of what kind of beautiful life they could live. So she makes a Charles Xavier type decision, and she deleted Sarah's memory, and now Sarah's memory has come back because the Phoenix has, we're not going to say died, because that's inaccurate. The Phoenix has left. And now she remembers this, and she's here at the grave, and even though Jean Grey is not actually in the grave, she says that she feels something there, and she knows that somehow she's talking to her sister, but she can't necessarily explain it. And as she leaves, there's like an image of Jean standing at the grave, and it's very pretty and everything. But that's it. That's all this was. It was a quick little thing from the past. I thought it would be somewhat interesting to talk about it. Not every issue is gold, guys. It is what it is. Sometimes these issues were nothing more than just something that came out. And especially something like from Bizarre Adventures, where it just happened to feature the Phoenix one time. It was all right. Nothing to put in the history books, but it was pretty good. Well, I guess we're all caught up here.